All right, so we want to quickly look at the subject matter of pricing. We've said a lot on the training platform on the Telegram, but I just want to reiterate it here. When you want to price your good for exports, by the way, we are still on this exportation training, and we're going to be on it like for a lifetime, because for as long as there is exportation, we will be on this. And as a matter of fact, there will always be exports, there will always be exporting of goods, because there's bound to be a whole lot of certain goods in certain places as designed and created by God, and there will be deficits of these things elsewhere. So where there is a deficit, the opportunity of people where there is a lot to export them to is rife. So definitely there will always be exportation, exporting of both products and services, because we are just wired that way. We are not made the same way. God has created us differently, but in His own image. So back to the subject matter of today, pricing. How do you do your pricing? When you want to price your goods for exportation, you have to be sure that you get the actual price of the commodity, the cost price of the commodity. Then you add all your costs, that is all your transportation here and there, miscellaneous, everything you need to add, you add, and then you divide per kg. It is the price per kg that you give your customer. So also another thing we need to note carefully is the fact that when you are making quotation for your clients, you do not do this with the black market rates. In Nigeria, we have the bank rate and we have the black market rate. The bank rate is always lower than the black market rate. So for instance, if the bank rate is 1,500 naira to a dollar, you are likely to have 1,800, 1,600 as the black market. So you do not give your clients the black market rate. So like if you get the cost price and you have put all your charges, you put all that you have spent, like for your transportation, loading, every other thing, when you have put everything together, you will now divide by the bank rate. The reasons why we are dividing by the bank rate will be made known to you in the training, on the training platform. Okay? But divide by the bank rate. And when you are withdrawing, like when you are now being paid, what you do is that you withdraw and then you can sell at the black market rate. Okay? So that is how to do your pricing. Don't forget, you put together all your charges, all your costs, the price of the commodity, you put on it every other thing that you have spent. Then don't even forget to add miscellaneous costs, because there are some costs that would come up and maybe you didn't even think about it. During transportation, there could be tire going down, car giving some issues, you need to call in the mechanic, just miscellaneous, so that at the end of the day you do not regret doing the job. Okay, so that's as far as pricing is concerned. Okay, you have to be able to know your unit price. Always use the bank rate, like I said, so that you can have the price in dollars. Cost of the goods, all your expenses, you add all your expenses. Don't forget to put miscellaneous, your transportation, and then of course you will put your percentage profit. We have different categories of goods, and so depending on the categories you are trying to export, you can put 20% profit margin, 30% profit margin, 40%, in some instances actually 100% profit margin. Yes, you heard me right. So it depends on what you are exporting and to where. Okay, but another thing you need to put into cognizance, very, very important, is the fact that you must always check your prices with the international market rates. Let me repeat that. Check your prices before you give your clients with the international market rates. You can go online to check. For crying out loud, I mean, if they are there abroad and Walmart is cheaper than what you want to give them, why would they need to import from you? So you need to look at that. You check, you compare your prices, and then you give lower prices. Okay, lower prices. In as much as you are still running in profit, make sure that your prices are always lower than the international market rates. Because when you look at it, really, if I can get something next door that I can see from somebody that I know or from shops that I know, and then you are now bringing yours from somewhere so far away, I will only want to buy from you because I know that what you are bringing will likely be authentic and it will be cheaper. These are the playing factors. If it is not cheaper than my next door shop, I won't have any reason at all to buy from you. So always check from the international markets before you decide to give the clients your costs. All right. Now quickly, we also want to look at the payments methods, and then we look at, well, I can only suggest to you, at the end of the day, it is your business and you have the right to choose what works best for you. But I would suggest, I will advise on the best method to use when you are exporting. So for instance, if you are doing small scale, the best way for you is advanced payments, period. Advanced payments. Because most of the time when you are doing micro exportation, you are probably doing it as a personal shopper. And doing personal shopping just means that somebody is somewhere and this person is sending you on an errand to buy certain things for him or her. And I mean, who sends somebody to the market without paying that person? So all you need to do is to get the list, get advance payments, and then you can put a little bit of money on top of what the cost of the products are, and you send to the person who has given you the order, and then they have to pay. You know, I mean, this is business. Over time, we may start developing trust for one another, but the truth of the matter is, you don't joke with your business. You cannot say, okay, yeah, I think I just need this business, so I'm going to give them free of charge until they pay me. No, it doesn't work that way. Supposing they don't pay. Okay, supposing they do not pay, what will you do? Okay, so the best way for micro exports, because you are not going to the bank, you don't have any documentations, the best way is advanced payments. And for people to trust you enough to give you advanced payments, we've talked about this many times in previous videos. You need to also make your social media handles welcoming. People will need to trust you by what they see you doing. Make sure that your social media handles are robust enough for people to know that yes, this is what you do. Okay? And if they still will not trust you to give you advance payments, then you can suggest escrow. Escrow platforms are the platforms that stay between the buyer and the seller. So what they do is that they collect money from the buyer, and then the seller would send to the buyer. They will hold on to the money. When everything is done, when services are rendered, when products are delivered, then they will release the money to the seller. They exist, they are there, you can look for such and then you suggest. But the truth is, they also take their percentages. And so many people may not want to go through this because of the money they have to pay, but it's a way of also making sure that nobody is cheated. And for micro exportation, another way you can even suggest to your clients is the fact that they can send their relations. Okay, most likely the people you are running errands for abroad, they are probably Nigerians or they are Africans, so they have relatives where you are, and you can suggest to them to send their relatives to pick and pay, because why they will not want to pay you in advance is probably because they don't know you, they don't trust you enough that you will send the goods. But if their relations or their friends or their agents are on ground to look at what you have and they are able to ascertain that you truly have these goods, then there won't be any reason for them not to believe you. These are small parts, remember, is micro exportation. So with these three ways, you should be able to get your payments done without too much ado. Okay, now let's look at large exportation, that is macro exportation. All right, there are many ways you can do payments, but one of the actually the best way is through the letter of credit. Now you want to ask, what is a letter of credit? Remember, we are talking about macro exports, and this means that it is big. You have all the documentation, you have your export license, you have your registration done, and so you have your bank account in your company's name. Okay, so what letter of credit means is that your buyer will raise a document called letter of credit through his bank. His own bank will issue this letter of credit and send to your own bank. If they don't want to send directly to your own bank, your buyer can send to you and then you take it to the bank, because it's actually a transaction between the two banks, your own bank and your buyer's bank. But letter of credit is issued by the buyer, by the buyer's bank. What it means is that the buyer's bank is saying, they are giving a guarantee that this buyer we know. Apart from knowing this buyer, he has this amount of money in his account with us. So most of the time, what the buyer's bank would even do is that they will freeze that amount in the account of the buyer. Okay? And then when the letter of credit is issued, you can then supply. When you supply, you bring all the documents to your bank will verify, and the money will be released to your bank account. But the truth is, even when we are talking about letter of credit, there are two types of letter of credit, and it is good for us to talk definitely about these two types so that we don't just make some mistakes. Sometimes a client can go back to the bank and say, okay, that letter of credit we issued, I do not even want to do this transaction again. I don't want to do it again. So even when you are going with letter of credit, make sure that you are going with the irrevocable letter of credit. I repeat that, irrevocable, because there are two types, the revocable and the irrevocable. Even when you are still doing the irrevocable, make sure that it is verified by your bank. Because like I said, the buyer can come back to say, okay, we thought we could do this, but we are no longer doing. But In as much as the letter of credit is an irrevocable letter of credit, then be sure, and it is verified by your bank, then you can be sure that you will have a seamless transaction. So even when you are going by letter of credit, make sure that it is the verified irrevocable letter of credit, so that you can be sure, because the whole essence of going through exportation is so that you can collect your money and everything will be good, and you won't have to regret coming into exportation. Okay, another way of payment that is common is what we call the telegraphic transfer. This definitely is an electronic transfer method, so it's just like me transferring money to you online. This is very commonly used by the Asians. Okay, the Asians, Malaysia, Dubai people, they prefer this. But the truth of the matter is, the letter of credit is still better. Okay, it is still a lot better, because somebody can do electronic transfer and reverse the transfer again. I'm not saying that that's what they would do, but I'm just saying that there is a possibility of somebody doing a transfer, electronic transfer, and then this person is taking it back again. Okay, taking it back again. So the one that is actually the best so far, and that I will advise anybody doing large quantity, large exports to do, is the verified irrevocable letter of credit. Okay, I strongly recommend this. Okay, but you can do the telegraphic. The telegraphic is also a way, if you are comfortable with it, but don't be stampeded into doing things that you may regret. Another one is cash against documents. Okay, cash against documents. So what this means is that you give the bank your documents. Okay, the banks will notify your buyer that you have all the documentation, because when you are doing exportation, there are certain documents that even if you have photocopies and they don't see the original, like the bill of lading for instance, the consignment cannot be released in the port of exportation. Okay, in the landing ports, if they don't have the original copy of the bill of lading for instance, you cannot clear the goods. Okay, but then things happen. Documents can be forged, and again, I'm not saying that's what your customers would do, but documents can be forged. But that's what it is, cash against documentation. So when you have the documents to present to the banks, they see the original copies, then your buyers will be notified, and then these buyers can then pay and documents will be released. The documents will be released only after payment. But I will still go back to my letter of credit option, because honestly speaking, it is still the best way. You can also do escrow, just as we said of the micro exportation. You can do escrow. You can go by the escrow companies. So what that means also is that you will send the goods, but before then, the amount of money that is involved will have been deposited by the buyer to the escrow companies, but they will need to pay a percentage, because I mean they are also in business to make money, as a matter of fact, to make profits. Okay, so the escrow will also hold on to the money, and then when the whole transaction is completed, they will release the money to you, the seller. Remember, when you are exporting, you are the seller, and your client over there is the buyer. Okay, another method you can use is payment on delivery. For me, okay, for me it is a no payment method. For me, when I do micro exportation, I want to see my money like this. When I do macro, I want to use letter of credit, because for sure I know that this is a guarantee. It's a guaranteed form of payment. Nothing changes that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So payment on delivery is what it means, simple English. When you bring the products, then we will pay you. This is always coming back with a lot of issues. Apart from trust issues that you can deliver and somebody can say that I didn't even see what you said you delivered. Another thing is that there will always be something about the delivery. For most people, and most of the times, you will always hear what you delivered is not complete, or this that you have delivered, part of it is rotten, part of it is not good, part of it is bent, part of it is curved, and you never know who could turn around to say all of this. So I won't recommend this at all. Make sure that you have, especially for a large order, for a macro delivery, that's total, is a no. All right, so please, let's take all of this into mind. When we get to class again, we're going to pull it out a whole lot more, why we are saying this and why we are saying, and then we give you the examples of what has happened, how it has happened, maybe during the live sessions. Okay, make sure that you insist on your money being paid before the goods leave your warehouses. I hope this helps. Until I come your way again in another video about business development or still on exportation business, my name is Olaoshibiko OK, popularly called in the business world the OK. Yes, O.K. Anyway, those are my initials. It is not OKAY, it is not small OK, it is the big O.K. See you again. God bless you and help you through this exportation process. Bye-bye.